I'm not sure about that. I didn't have the chance to ask the director about it, but I think it, it's meant to be ambiguous. It's not a uniform, but it's the color of the uniform. It's not a uniform, this is the color. So it's a kind of an ambiguous, what we call in cinema studies, mise en scène. Because he's sitting in a cell all by himself. This is an empty room, and he faces the camera. And I think Nadav Sherman is using Errol Morris. Are you familiar with the Interotron? This is the kind of filming in which the subject faces the camera and stares straight to us in order to raise our identification. But these are not uniform. Only the color. Very tricky, right? Yeah. Yeah, please. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very, very much. This was really, really impressive. And first of all, very egocentrically, I'm giving a seminar next semester on psychological anthropology. And is there something written by you on these new films? Is it available that I can give it to my students?
Well, I wrote a book on perpetrator trauma films as a new paradigm. Yeah. And of course it has, I think, some relevance to American documentaries on Iraq and Afghanistan.
So basically I wouldn't want to just show films, but to contextualize it in a
of course.
scientific discourse about it. So
yeah.
That was just
and many papers as well. So you can
so
either email me.
Yeah,
of course. That would be of course. Thank you.
The other question was relating to the last movie, a documentary. I don't know. I might ask everybody, but would have Onan helped him if Mossad had not converted? Just
I don't think it has anything to do with the conversion to Christianity. No. Mossad was looking for a new community. What I didn't tell you there is that Nadav Sherman, the director, revealing in some, I think the third part of the film, a confession that Mossad is telling us for the first time that he was raped as a very little kid. I think he was 5 years old by some older neighbor kid who escorted him from olive tree harvesting back home. And in the Muslim society, as he says it, it's the most unbearable thing to confess that this happened to you. It's better to shut up. To be a victim of rape is the most degrading thing that any man, Muslim man, can admit. And in a way, Nadav Sherman, the director, avoids clear, I think, making a clear causality and connecting the rape incident with him taking the subject position of a spy for Israeli ends. So there is some kind of a clash between Mossad, since he was a very little kid, till his later stages of life. And I think it has more to do with his Christianity than any other thing. But why Gonen would help someone who is Christian? He helped him as a Muslim when he was here, and he paid the price with his job. Right? Yes, yes.
Just wanted, on the first film, thank you very much. In the first film, you showed us
Good Garbage.
Good Garbage, thank you. There was one scene that the rubbish had on an Arabic writing. It was like a milk carton. I was very confused by that because
probably some workers coming from all the villages, Palestinian villages, to work in Kiryat Arba, throw it to the garbage of Kiryat Arba, and then it gets back to the dump. Yeah.
Because it's an interesting choice of the director to show that the garbage also comes from.
Yeah, But this is the problem when you show a clip and you can't see the whole movie. In terms of the whole movie, it's a detail you hardly notice. In terms of the clip, sure. Yeah. Yes, please. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Well, I chose the documentary because I think usually in world cinema, not only in Israeli cinema, documentaries are going before the consensus. They are paving the way. Usually they are subversive and going against the consensus, in contrast to feature films. And in Israel as well, this is what is happening. Because feature films, especially in war genre, are very much consensual films. And although sometimes they do criticize the occupation, eventually I think what they put on the screen is some kind of heroic victimhood of Israeli soldiers that is above everything else, with a very strong tone of patriotism. I think you can imagine by now I don't hide it that I'm on the left, right? So I really oppose this kind of doing. I respect the directors, but I really oppose this kind of consensual filmmaking. And documentary cinema, which began, as I said at the beginning, as a very propagandistic kind of work, really transformed into a totally different kind of corpus. The tragedy is that, as opposed to feature films, Israeli audiences hardly see that. They don't earn money, right? Only the best of all of them, very few, less than few, are having the chance of being screened in auditoriums, in cinema auditoriums, right? Usually they are screening at the Cinematheques for some period of time. If they are lucky enough, they have some prime time in television, and that's it. So this is the tragic fate of documentaries all over the world and in Israel as well, that the work do not win the audience that they should win. Yeah. Israeli fans.
Israeli fans.
Yeah, fund. Yeah, sometimes there are co-production as well, mainly with France and UK, but most of the money comes from Israeli funds. Yeah.
But by the state?
Yeah, of course, by the Ministry of Culture, or at least that's what was happening before the new one. I don't know what would be the next day. Yeah. I don't think it would be so easier for her to cancel all the support, because the cry would be out loud and very strong. But we'll see. Hopefully. Yeah. Was it too depressing? I hope not. No. I learned a lot from this corpus, and I admire their work. It's not an easy thing, and it's not easy at all, and sometimes very dangerous indeed to go to film as Israeli in the occupied territories, cross the borders, cross the checkpoints, and be in a hostile environment. And they are doing it. It's a very people with a vision and a very strong social devotion, I think. I admire them. You can see that. Yeah, both the women and the men directors.
But
Okay.
those are the ones who are here because they have to prepare to get published.
Yeah. the soldiers, the
Yeah,
female
yeah,
soldiers. Yeah. Meital had suffered a lot because in the social media, people from the right called her, what would be the translation, corpse cleanser or something like this,
Yeah.
very harshly and violently.
Yeah.
And she's an amazing person.
Yeah.
And all the other 5 female soldiers as well. This film was based on interviewing 100 female soldiers, and from all this population of 100, finally the director chose the 6th one, who were willing to expose themselves and who were fascinating as as characters in film. But this is a much more widespread phenomenon than we can guess. Yeah.
Can you go around without being recognized? Yeah, probably there are not so many people watching the movie
To see if I'm smiling, receive
Yeah.
many prizes.
Yeah.
But this is the risk that they took upon themselves. Yeah. In contrast to breaking the silence, which is an anonymous kind of confession, what they did was a totally different presentation of themselves. Yes. Mhm. About the wrongdoing. Mhm. Yeah, it's on the line, online. You can see that. Yes, thank you. It's a long day, right? You need some rest. Thank you. Thank you very much for.
Yeah,
Thank you.
again.
Fantastic meeting you. And all best with your work.